Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to do a breakdown on the overall pattern flip that is going to happen over the next couple of weeks. And we're going to be in another very strong clipper pattern, which is going to allow for a lot of our cooler air to dive down in the east, and our air in the west is going to get quite warm. Here's what we're looking at for our radar as at the moment. We have a system coming through up north. This is going to be a small clipper. This is going to allow for a dip down of some cooler air, and that's going to try to combine with some moisture, but it's probably not going to. We're going to have some lake effect snow out of this, and some snow in the northeast. That's going to move out very quickly. That is late this week into early weekend, and we're going to watch some warm air come back in for a bit. But as you can see here, we have another clipper and more cool air behind. And this one is even more intense. Cool air diving down super far south, and as you can tell with the lake effect snow, it is definitely more intense. And this one is longer lasting, and we're going to have another one after that, where we might have some moisture in play here. I've seen this with a couple models and consistently on the GFS, maybe some southern snow with this, and moving beyond this, we might have a slight warm-up, but it still looks like we're going to still have cold air in play. I think sometime around the 23rd, we might have kind of a pattern flip where we will allow for some Colorado low-pressure areas to develop, and these could turn into some rather big snowstorms, most likely over here in the northeast, even the potential of a nor'easter. And to prove what I'm thinking here, we are, again, seeing that system. We have all the cool air. We have another clipper and more extreme cool air. The Euro is even further to the south, even. So that's very interesting. And we have more cool air behind that. That's our reinforcement of that cooler air. And as you can tell by the very heavy lake effect snow, it is definitely pretty cold and chilly air. And that's going to dip down all the way down into the south, as you can tell here. And more clippers and more lake effect snow. And just like the GFS, we're going to eventually have the potential around the 22nd, 23rd, 24th period to have some moisture in play, that if the cold air is dipping south enough, we could have some snow further to the south. The European is on the other scenario that doesn't show much snow at all. Shows some snow in Virginia. Much different scenario in a more recent run. That was our older run. Now we have a more recent run, which is showing potential for severe weather. So yeah, definitely moisture in play. And cold air is still in play, as you can tell with this. Some extreme cold air. Holy cow! Yeah, if this were to happen, that would be quite extreme. The Euro is probably a little falsifying this, but if something like this does end up happening, this is the time period that a massive Arctic blast is most likely. Now looking at our GFS temp anomalies, as you can tell, we have cooler than average air coming in. Here's our this week's cooler air, but more significant cool air comes in behind that early next week, and a reinforcement toward the middle of next week. Maybe a slight warm up before. I think this is when we're going to have some potential for our moisture to combine with some of our cooler air. And the GFS is showing for some snow further to the south, which is not extremely likely, but the GFS does show huge cool air intrusion before reinforcement all the way through the end of January, it seems. Now, as far as snowfall over through the 29th here, this is our GFS, and we're seeing totals up to a couple feet, maybe even up to 3 feet over here along the east coast of Lake Michigan. We're having up to 50 inches there. We're having 70 inches way over here by Lake Ontario. Up in here in Ontario, again, a couple feet. But I think a hot spot probably over the next couple of weeks is going to be way up here in the upper part of our peninsula there. Further down to the south, we're going to have, showing a little different than the Euro. Here's our older run, which does show some snow. Definitely 12 inches over here over the next couple of weeks. That's pretty important. 14 Here's our more recent one, though, which shows a more likely scenario, showing maybe a foot or two along the Lake Michigan there, and only a couple inches way up here. I think the GFS might be more accurate for those totals up here, but we could have some lower totals along the Lake Michigan shore. Over here in the mountains, seeing upper areas, we could have a foot or two, but no extreme high totals, it looks like, over the next little bit. And that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I will make a longer video later this week.